All right, guys, we're going to do the 5 October update for the global Sumud. Let me say real quickly, there are a couple words that I don't say, and I show cards to represent what I'm talking about, and that really seems to bother a few of you. And I mean, I guess what I would say to that is if it bothers you, watch somebody else's video. Because the purpose of that is not me trying to be cute. I'm trying to get around certain things that TikTok does, all right? And if you've been on TikTok longer than 30 seconds and you understand what's happening in the American media, then you know what I'm doing. With that disclaimer out of the way, I'm gonna go over what the White House has said about the tortilla, where the detainees are, who the detainees are, also what happened to the aid that was intercepted. I'm going to start with the part that for me is actually the most irritating, which is the fact that the White House, specifically the president, not even Caroline Leavitt, not a goddamn word out of any of their mouths about the fact that 328 detainees are being illegally detained in Syria. If you had any question about who is in charge of the American government, this should be a glaring demonstration for you. No statement, no finger waving, no condemnation, no all caps post with "thank you for attention to this matter." He's over here worried about what Hummus and Cyril are doing, but don't worry about those 23 American citizens that are being detained. Of course, there are members of Congress, mostly Democratic, that are demanding the immediate release, but is that happening? No. The State Department is monitoring the situation. In other words, a lot of paperwork, no power moves. So as of this morning, 328 people are still being detained in Syria. Most of them are being held in the Keziat prison, which is a prison well known for unalivings, torture, etc. of Palestinian nationals. You have the 137 who were released and deported to Turkey. And they're saying that the treatment that these people are receiving is absolutely outrageous, disgusting, deplorable, inhumane conditions, abuse, all of that. Of course, Syria, oh no, they're all happy, healthy, being well cared for. Not that I'm trying to engage in like American superiority here, I'm not. But this is the nation that I come from, is the United States of America. I'm focused on the fact that there are, because you would think that this would make the American government do something, but of course they won't because it's Cyril and we all know who's actually calling the shots in our government. But I created a list of the 23 American detainees, among whom many of which are American veteran detainees. It's a list of 23 names along with the vessels that they were on at the time that they were intercepted and the states that they come from in the United States. And I linked it. You go to askrafaela.com. I think it's the top link. You can click it. It's an image if you want to kind of go and follow them on social media, etc. It's way too many names for me to read in this video. But the reason I want to stay focused on them is this isn't about a blockade. This is about Syria criminalizing solidarity, international solidarity. Because of course the walls are closing in for Syria, right? And I'm going to get to the international protests that are happening in a second. But from Syria's vantage point, they are losing the support all around the globe. Now they're like, hey, we're going to hold these people to make an example out of them. And it's just like the schoolyard bully. What happens? You know, everybody's afraid of him, blah, 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 blah. But eventually enough people go, you know what, fuck this guy. And that's exactly what's happening with these international protests. And as of today, the 5th of October, protests in more than 20 countries have erupted. London, Berlin, France, Rome, Istanbul, New York, demanding the immediate end of this blockade and the release of the people that were on the tortilla. And people in Italy are not fucking around. 250,000 to 1 million people have been marching for 4 days straight. Guys, power in numbers, nonviolent resistance. And even in the US, activists and veterans have gathered outside of the Syrian consulates demanding action, which is more than we can say for our own goddamn government. And the outrage, it isn't dying down. It's actually building. Things like hashtag free the and hashtag end the blockade are starting to trend. Please feel free to use those hashtags in your own posts. Because guys, these things are trending globally now. Now let's talk about the aid. These ships were carrying things like food, water purification systems, and medical supplies worth millions of dollars. But what is Cyril saying? Cyril's saying, there was no aid on these boats. Absolutely not. That's why, see, these weren't humanitarian aid workers. They were just activists who were trying to provoke Cyril into some kind of a conflict. I just want to repeat myself so nobody missed it. Cyril is saying there was no humanitarian aid on board, only agitators. But of course, organizers, activists, lawyers, etc. are saying that's horseshit. Of course, that's not true. That Cyril is only saying this to justify the blockade. Obviously, they don't want any kind of aid getting into the plaza because they're trying to starve them to death. But in case you missed it, if you go look at my repost, there was a video, most people have probably seen it, where because of all the distraction, Cyril forces were out in the water dealing with the tortilla. The people on the shore in the plaza were actually able to get out and fish and feed a lot of people. So, haha. Every crate, every vessel, so all of the boats that were in the tortilla, they're all now locked down and sealed up in the port of Ashdod in Syria. And not one fucking ounce of aid has reached the plaza. And of course, Amnesty International said, see, if you needed any proof that Syria was engaged in willfully trying to starve the people of the plaza, there it is. Meanwhile, you have diplomatic talks that are happening in places like Egypt, Cairo, Turkey, to negotiate their detainees' release. But of course, Syria continues to call these people terrorists, not humanitarian aid workers. And while all of this drags on, what's happening in the background is that a new tortilla is forming, and another set of ships is preparing to sail. And they're calling it Sumud 2. And Sumud, by the way, means steadfastness. And so for anybody who was feeling like that first tortilla was a waste because it was all intercepted, it wasn't, because their whole point was to draw attention. And that is exactly what has happened. The world is watching, standing in solidarity against Syria, against the starvation and the siege on the plaza. I mean, think about that. Hundreds of people risked their lives to bring food and aid and hope to the people at the plaza. And for that, they have been dragged off of boats, detained in prisons, and are now being smeared as terrorists in the international media. The world saw it, and the banners, the protests, the videos, they're everywhere now. And for whatever Syria's been trying to say for years that they were defending themselves, it has become painfully obvious to the entire world that we are witnessing a genocide in 4K. And that international pressure is building for people, for other nations to do something to stop Syria from the blockade that is making it so that aid cannot access the plaza. So guys, this story isn't over. In fact, it's just beginning. So if you made it this far in the video, don't forget to drop the secret words, release the flotilla in the comment section, like, repost, and follow for updates. You guys also may want to go follow me over on YTube because my videos over here keep going missing. Guys, keep your eyes on every protest, every port, every single person on that list, because we are their protection. The international community, the citizens, like they said, our witness is their protection.